Welcome to the Wife Stories YouTube channel. New video every day, and don't forget to subscribe. Here we go.
Don't, please, don't. It's her whisper I hear first. I'm standing in the hallway, shoulder against the cold wall, heart pounding so hard I can taste acid on my tongue. I shouldn't be here, shouldn't be listening. But my father's funeral was yesterday, and everything in my world is already twisted. A letter from the attorney's office forced a phone number into my hand. One call, a man's voice. "You're not the first to ask," he said. That voice started it all. Or maybe it started long before. Maybe I was just too blind to see it. The hallway is dark, moody. The curtains are drawn. I can barely make out the shapes in our bedroom. Our bedroom. Her voice is hushed, breathy, layered with tension and something else. A man's low growl answers her. There's a rustling, a shift of bodies. I can almost feel the heat radiating through the half-open door. I lean forward, just enough to see shadows. She's on the bed. He's with her. I catch the arch of her back, the curve of her arm sliding around his shoulders, a sheet crumpled beneath them. My gut clenches. For an instant, the entire universe collapses to that single point where her skin meets his. Her hair spills across the pillow, and I recognize the soft whimper she makes. One I'd heard years ago, when we were both younger. That single sound, a ragged exhale, is like a knife under my ribs. They don't see me. They're too caught up in the friction, the panting, the obscene closeness. Everything about the scene flickers with a cruel, erotic undercurrent. Her nails scrape lightly across his back. He growls something, breath hitching. She moves beneath him, and I see the sweat gleaming on their shoulders in the faint light. I don't know how long I stand there, heart hammering, fists clenched so tight that my knuckles burn. 10 seconds, maybe less. Feels like a lifetime. Then she gasps, a sharp intake of breath. "Michael." I jerk away from the door as if scalded. My throat is dry, and I force myself to swallow, but it doesn't help. I want to tear him off her, throw him to the floor, demand answers, crack his skull for daring to put a hand on my wife. But it's too late for that. Something in me has already started to die. Or maybe it died the moment I realized that phone call wasn't just a random clue about the inheritance. It was a clue about her. About them. I back away, step by step, careful not to make a sound. My shoes scrape lightly on the hardwood. I turn, heading downstairs into the living room. The hush behind me continues, punctuated by muffled moans. I can't stay here any longer. My father's funeral was supposed to be a conclusion. He was strict, controlling, a man who believed in order and discipline. I used to crave his approval, then learned to function without it. Yesterday I buried him, and it felt like burying the last anchor tying me to who I used to be. At the reading of his will, the attorney handed me a battered piece of paper with his handwriting, shaky from age or sickness. It said, "You'll receive everything if you find the truth about your children." Children. Plural. I have 2, and I love them. But is there a question about them not being mine? Everything started spinning when I saw those words. The hush in the office. The attorney's polite cough. My mother's watery eyes. Then that phone number scrawled in pencil, almost illegible. I called it that same evening. A man answered. His voice was calm, almost smug. "You're not the first who's asked about that. Let me guess, your father said you should call." I hung up on him without replying, but something kept gnawing at my gut. The attorney had said we'd need tests, clarifications, confirmations. My father's estate is significant. Houses, land, investments, but only if I prove who I am, or who my children are. I thought it was nonsense. My wife, Alice, has never given me reason to doubt them. Or so I believed. Now I'm in the living room, mind reeling, trying to breathe, trying to keep from smashing everything in sight. The father I barely reconciled with left behind a landmine. The wife I thought I knew is upstairs with a man named Michael, arching her back and whispering the name of a stranger as if it's the only word left in the world. I sink onto the couch, pressing my fists to my temples. A wave of numb fury floods my entire body. This is how it begins, with a whisper, a moan, and the knowledge that everything I believed was a lie. A few minutes later, I'm not sure how many, I hear the floor creak upstairs. Voices, hushed, then footsteps on the stairs. I wait, forcing myself to remain calm. The front door opens. I see a tall shape cross the threshold, maybe glancing back once. Then it's quiet again, the door shutting softly. She stands at the top of the stairs in a robe, arms wrapped around herself, hair disheveled. Even in the dim light, I see her shoulders shaking. When I meet her gaze, she jolts, as if I'm a stranger in her house. "John," she says. Her voice is raw, trembling. I say nothing. I watch her, letting the silence speak for me. She comes down 2 steps, hugging the robe to her chest. She swallows. "This isn't how. Listen to me, please." But I can't. Something cold and sharp is lodged in my throat. So I stare, unblinking, forcing her to carry the weight of words, and she does. She tries to explain in fragments, her voice unsteady. "It just happened. I never planned this. I love you." He was an old friend from when I first started working. We kept in touch. Then after your father's, everything got so intense, and you were distant. I was lonely. And she trails off, tears welling in her eyes. She's always had that trembling lower lip when she's upset. I remember how it used to break my heart to see it. Now it just feels like nails scraping an empty coffin. "Let me explain," she pleads. "John, please, he means nothing. I'm sorry. You have to believe me." I still say nothing. She takes a shaky step toward me, but I stand and walk out of the living room. I don't slam the door. I just leave, keys in hand. Outside, the cold night air slaps me awake. My car is in the driveway. I get in, start the engine, and just sit there, staring at the steering wheel. The anger is a live wire under my skin, tingling, making my arms tremble. My phone buzzes in my pocket. I don't bother looking. Probably Alice. I drive. Streets blur under the harsh glow of street lamps. At some point, I park near a closed grocery store. I slump in the seat, breath fogging on the windshield. Thoughts swirl. My father's voice, always telling me to keep my house in order. The letter. That phone call. My wife's moans in the dark. The memory fuses into a single, unstoppable wave that threatens to drown me. The letter said, "Find the truth about your children." So my father suspected something, or knew something, and she's been cheating. Maybe not for long, maybe for years. I feel a cold, sickening realization. I have to know who fathered them. Dawn comes eventually. I drive back, fingers stiff from gripping the wheel. In the gray morning light, the house looks smaller, more fragile. I wonder if she's still awake. Part of me wants to step inside, tear every photograph from the walls, demand answers, demand an apology that might patch up the crater in my chest. Another part of me is already dead, beyond apologies. I open the door. Alice is on the couch, knees pulled to her chest. The lights are off, curtains closed. She lifts her head when she hears me, but I pretend I don't see her. I walk past, upstairs to the bedroom we once shared. It smells faintly of her shampoo, of sweat, maybe even the cologne of that man. I taste bile in my throat. I yank open the closet, find a suitcase, begin tossing clothes in. An old t-shirt, a pair of shoes, my laptop. Random. I'm not thinking about packing logically. I just need to get out. The bed is unmade, the sheets twisted. Her robe is draped over the chair. I'm about to leave when a small cardboard box perched on the dresser catches my eye. Something about the way it's half open draws me in. Inside are documents, letters, receipts. The topmost is a folded note with numbers scrawled across it. Some phone number I don't recognize. Under that, something else. A paternity test form, half complete. My name is on it, next to alleged father, typed in a neat black font. My stomach turns. So she's known. She's suspected. Or maybe she's done these tests already. I don't realize I've clenched my fists until my nails bite into my palms. The ring on my finger digs painfully into the skin. Slowly, I slip the wedding band off. I hold it for a moment, turning it over in my fingers, then put it on the dresser. It makes a small metallic sound that echoes in my ears like a final bullet casing hitting the floor. Downstairs, she calls my name softly, but I ignore her. I carry the suitcase out to the car, throw it in the trunk. Then I remember the letter from my father. The attorney said to contact him once I ascertain the necessary facts. That means tests, legal steps, forms. Some twisted part of me wonders if the estate was my father's final attempt to break us, to test my loyalty. But I need the truth. I can't walk away without it, even if it kills me. I drive to a hotel, check in under my own name. The clerk is a college kid who barely looks up from his phone as he hands me the key card. In the elevator, I stare at my reflection in the polished doors. A man with rumpled hair, dark circles under his eyes, clothes from yesterday. I barely recognize myself. My phone buzzes again. This time, it's an unknown number. I answer, expecting a telemarketer. Instead, it's the same voice from last night, the man who answered that suspicious call. John, right? He says, calm as though we're old friends. Heard you might be looking for some answers. I represent certain interests. Your father's, specifically. I say nothing, stepping out of the elevator. He continues. Your father and I spoke months ago. He had concerns, and now you do too. I shut my hotel door behind me. The room is bland. Beige walls, standard bed, a TV on the opposite wall. The curtains are drawn. I turn on the lamp. What do you want? I finally force out. He chuckles. The question is what you want. I can provide evidence, details about your wife's associations. My mouth goes dry. Who are you? A private investigator, for lack of a better term. I hang up. I can't stand his smug tone. But a text arrives a moment later. An address, a time. Meet me if you want proof. I toss the phone on the bed. Proof, I mutter. The word tastes like poison. I think of her, of the kids. My boy and girl. My kids. The memory of their tiny fingers gripping mine when they were born. A fierce love floods me. And the creeping doubt that maybe they aren't mine. I shower, hot water pounding my shoulders, but it doesn't wash away the grit clinging to my thoughts. I keep seeing them entwined in the bedroom. Her nails raking his back. The hush of their breath. That single whispered name. Michael. Time slides by. I meet with the attorney that afternoon, and we start the legal wheels turning. Schedules for paternity tests. Preliminary steps. He's polite, distant, calls me Mr. Miller, as if we're not discussing the unraveling of my entire life. Alice tries to text me again. We need to talk about the kids, about us. Another. Come home, please. Another. I'm sorry. Let me explain. I delete them all without reading to the end. That evening, I follow the directions from the text. A quiet street. A coffee shop on the corner with dim lighting. He's waiting. The private investigator, wearing a black jacket. He beckons me to a booth, slides me a manila folder. Inside the folder, photos. Alice and Michael together. Restaurants, a hotel lobby, even a shot of them kissing in a parked car. The timestamps go back 6 months. My lungs constrict. So it's not new. She said it just happened. A lie. I glance at the man. He's middle-aged, thin-lipped, impatient. Your father hired me to track your wife, he says softly. He suspected things. He told me to hand this over only if you came asking. I stare at the photos in numb silence. They're undeniable. In one, she's laughing, leaning into Michael's shoulder, eyes bright with affection. I close the folder. Why? I manage. Why would my father do this? The investigator shrugs. He was a controlling man, from what I gather. Found out about your wife's affair, maybe suspected your kids aren't yours. Then insisted you'd only get the inheritance if you uncovered it yourself. Some sort of twisted plan, if you ask me. Rage simmers in my chest. But I keep my voice level. Is there anything else? He slides a small envelope across the table. A key to a storage unit. He said you'd know what to do with it when the time came. I pocket the key without comment, pay for my coffee, and walk out. The night air is cold. My father's voice haunts me. Keep your house in order. He was never affectionate. We never had a real heart-to-heart. Now, even in death, he's controlling me. Over the next week, everything feels like a bad dream. Attorneys, investigators, lab appointments for paternity tests, phone calls with curt greetings. I barely speak to Alice. When she calls, I let her talk, but I offer nothing in return. She tries to justify, to explain. She said she was lonely, that Michael was comfort, that it started with innocent lunches, escalated into something else. All I hear is the memory of her moan that night, the memory of her body under his. She begs me to come home, begs me to think about the children, begs me to at least keep lines of communication open for them. I say, we'll meet with the attorneys soon. That's all. She cries. I hang up. Time passes in disjointed scenes. Scene. I'm sitting in a conference room. Alice is across the table, eyes red-rimmed. Our respective lawyers shuffle documents. The conversation is polite but stifling. We need clarity on estate matters, on marital assets, on the children's legal status if the tests come back negative for my paternity. Michael's name hovers in the air, unspoken but present. Scene. I'm in my hotel room, alone. The mirror above the small dresser reflects a haggard stranger. I haven't slept more than 2 hours a night. My hair is greasy, my cheeks sunken. I stare at the empty whiskey glass on the bedside table. My phone buzzes. Alice again. I ignore it. Scene. The children call. They ask me, "Daddy, when are you coming home?" My stomach twists. I tell them I'm traveling for work. My daughter sniffles. She's 7. My son's 9. They both want to know why Mom is so sad. I say I'll see them soon. Then I hang up, feeling like a monster. Finally, the results come in. The tests confirm that my daughter is biologically mine. My son, he isn't. The attorney's voice is neutral on the phone, as if he's telling me the weather. My father's letter demanded the truth, and now I have it, cold and final. That night, I meet Alice in a neutral space, her lawyer's office. It's late, the building mostly empty, just us and our lawyers. The tension is suffocating. Alice looks pale. She stares at me, waiting for me to speak, but I don't. Finally, she addresses the room with shaky determination. Before we go any further, I have to say something. I accept responsibility for what I did. Michael, it was an affair. He could be. She glances at me, wincing. He could be our son's father, but that doesn't change how much we love him, right? I meet her eyes for the first time in weeks. I'm not taking your love away, I say quietly. But you took something from me. And I won't pretend it didn't happen. She's trembling. Our lawyers step in with formalities, discussing custody, potential divorces, the estate. I stand, cutting them off. We're done for today, I say. This is going nowhere. My lawyer tries to stop me, but I leave. Alice calls after me, voice breaking. I don't look back. There's a swirl of legal motions after that. Suits, countersuits, discussions about prenuptial clauses, disclaimers about my father's estate requiring clarity on the lineage. It's a labyrinth of papers and polite venom. Through it all, I channel my rage into strategy. I show up to every meeting with a stony face, rarely speaking, letting the lawyers do the talking. But inside, I'm charting every move, every angle. I find some sick satisfaction in controlling the situation. Each evening that Alice begs me to see the children, I refuse or delay. I watch from a distance as she breaks down. When we do meet, the so-called family mediation sessions, she tries to approach me. I step away. I watch her in the reflection of the large round table, watch the tears sliding down her cheek. I remain silent. Behind my silence is a hatred that roils like a thunderstorm. But it's quieter than any anger I've known before. It's the quiet of a man who's been hollowed out and replaced by a single desire, to see her suffer the way she made me suffer. A month passes. I visit that storage unit with the key the investigator gave me. The place is dim, dust drifting in beams of fluorescent light. Inside, I find more of my father's archives. Old business ledgers, notes, and a stack of black and white photos. And then, near the bottom, a sealed envelope with my name. I open it. A letter in his handwriting. John, if you're reading this, you know the truth. I told the PI to show you. I couldn't bear to tell you myself. You always wanted to believe people. But sometimes we have to break illusions to keep order. I did what I had to do. Now do what you must. That's it. No apology, no warmth. Pure manipulation, from beyond the grave. I stuff the letter in my pocket. Outside, the sun is blinding. I think about the 2 children who call me Dad, about the house we shared. I remember, for a moment, how Alice used to greet me at the door with a kiss. My father destroyed her illusions, or maybe she destroyed her own illusions long before. Now it's my turn to finish the job. I escalate the legal approach. I demand full custody of my daughter, partial custody of my son with strict conditions. I request that if Alice wants to remain in the marital home, she pays rent, since that property is tied up in the inheritance now. My lawyer raises an eyebrow but follows my instructions. Alice's lawyer calls me personally. He's shocked by my demands, tries to mediate. I remain silent, letting the tension build. Alice calls, sobbing. How can you do this? That's still your son. He loves you. This is cruel. I say, we'll see what the court decides, and hang up. My father taught me chess as a boy. He always said the best moves are the ones that trap your opponent into hurting themselves. I become that man, moving pieces, cornering her. She tries to push back legally. I have more resources now. My father's finances, ironically, are partially accessible under the terms of a trust. She can't match it. Meetings turn into gridlock sessions. She's exhausted, losing weight, eyes ringed with desperation. She still tries to talk to me, to reason, to find a speck of the old me left. I give her nothing. My mother calls me from Ohio, crying, asking if the rumors are true. She says Alice told her part of the story, begs me to remember the kids. I respond with empty pleasantries, reassure my mother that I'm handling things. Inside, I'm cold steel. Michael, the lover, disappears for a while, probably wise enough to avoid the confrontation. But I catch glimpses of him in the background of certain legal documents. He's deposed as a potential father for my son. I see his name on a paternity acknowledgement form. He doesn't contest. Meanwhile, Alice is forced to show up in courtrooms and mediation offices, worn down by the daily grind. I attend every session in a pressed suit, emotionless. She tries to speak to me alone once, cornering me in a hallway after a mediation. John, she says, voice trembling. I know I hurt you. I know you can't forgive me. But the children, please, think of them. I look at her. She's thinner, older. Her hair is pulled back in a neat bun, but there are lines on her face I don't remember. I can see the reflection of overhead lights in her eyes. Once, I would have found her tears unbearable. Now, I just feel hollow. I lean in, close enough to see her pulse in her neck. You killed us, I say, voice barely above a whisper. Now live with it. I walk away, leaving her trembling in the corridor. The final hearing arrives. We both stand in front of a judge who's heard our depositions, the DNA tests, the financial tangles from my father's estate. My lawyer presents the findings. Hers tries to mitigate the damage. The judge steps out, then returns with a verdict that mostly sides with me. I get primary custody of my daughter. She retains partial custody of both children, but the arrangement is complicated. The marital assets are under review until the estate clarifications are finalized, meaning she might have to move or pay to stay in the house. She looks like she wants to scream, or faint, or both. I keep my expression neutral. I remember the night I heard her whisper to Michael. The image is burned into my skull. Outside the courtroom, she tries one last time to talk to me. But I stride past. My lawyer intercepts her. I vanish down the stairs. Over the next weeks, we finalize the divorce filings. Paper after paper, signed in black ink. The children are confused, upset. I see them at scheduled times, keep my face composed. My daughter leaps into my arms each visit. My son hangs back, eyes wide with guilt or fear. I sense that he knows something is wrong, but he's only 9. "Do you still love me, Dad?" he asks once, tears streaming. I crouch down, look him in the eye. He's my boy, biologically or not. For a second, I feel the old warmth. Then I remember the betrayal. My father's dead voice echoes in my head. "Keep your house in order. I'll always care." I say, but things are different now. He starts to sob. I put a hand on his shoulder, not sure what else to do. Meanwhile, Alice tries to arrange a new place, but finances are tight. She begs me to see reason, to let her keep the house, at least for the children's sake. I ignore her calls. My attorney does the talking. Mr. Miller believes the property is entangled in the estate's trust. You may remain temporarily, but you must assume the cost. He's made his position clear. And so, piece by piece, I watch her crumble. One evening, she comes to the hotel where I'm staying. She must have found out the address somehow. I hear a knock on the door. Open it. And there she is. She looks desperate, hair askew, eyes puffy. I just stand, blocking the doorway. "John," she says softly. "Let me in, please." I say nothing, but I don't close the door either. She steps inside. We stand in the dim lamplight. She glances around the small, impersonal room. "This place, it's like you're not even living," she murmurs. "It's like you died." I shrug. "Maybe I have." She turns to face me, tears brimming. "I know you hate me now, but the children." At the mention of them, my throat tightens. I picture my daughter's giggle, my son's wide grin when we play catch. Then I remember the test results, the betrayal. She tries to step closer. I made a mistake, a huge one. But we can find a way through this. We can. I back away, voice low and steady. "You think I'd want to fix it? After what you've done?" She hesitates, tears falling. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but you can't keep punishing me like this. It's ripping the kids apart. It's ripping you apart." I look at her, stone-faced. "There's no me and you. Not anymore." She sobs, covers her mouth with her hand. I see the ring on her finger. She still wears it. Mine is in some drawer, or maybe I threw it away. I can't remember. "Please," she whispers. I shake my head. "You already took everything." She stands there, shoulders shaking, for what feels like an eternity. Then she turns and leaves, the door clicking softly behind her. The next day, I move out of the hotel. I buy a small condo on the other side of town, near the office. Money is no longer a problem. My father's estate is almost finalized. The attorneys confirm that, because I found out the truth, I qualify for the inheritance, ironically. He forced me to dig up the filth, and I did. Now I have the money, the property rights, the final victory in a twisted game. Alice tries to hold on, tries to salvage some piece of normalcy, but I force every interaction into legal channels. The kids shuttle between us on a schedule. She tries to be civil when I drop them off, but I barely acknowledge her. I see the pain etched in her face, the frantic guilt as she tries to pretend to the children that everything might be okay. I let her pretend. Michael reappears eventually, trying to claim some paternal rights for my son. The situation is messy, but I don't stand in his way. Why would I? Let them all drown in the chaos they created. I sign whatever disclaimers the lawyers put in front of me, relinquishing certain responsibilities for a child that's not biologically mine if they choose that route. But my son still calls me dad, begs me not to abandon him. I nod without promising anything. Inside, I'm quiet, a steel trap. Days blur. Work, attorneys, weekend visits. My mother begs me to see a counselor, to find closure. I ignore her. I find new ways to keep my mind occupied. Endless hours at the gym, late nights reading, or just staring at the wall. Sleep comes rarely, but when it does, I dream of that first moment I saw them in our bed. I always wake up with fists clenched. One morning, I catch a glimpse of myself in the condo mirror. There's a new hardness in my eyes, a set to my jaw that wasn't there before. I realize I don't even wonder about who fathered my daughter or how it happened. I know she's mine. That's enough. The rest, it doesn't matter. My father is dead. My wife is effectively gone. The man she betrayed me with has scurried into some corner of their new reality. I remember the moment I put that mirror above our bed at home. She used to laugh, calling it a silly decoration. But I wanted her to see herself, to see who she was at night. Now she's forced to confront that reflection every day. Maybe it shows her the lines carved by regret. I hope she hates it. At some point, I decide to finalize the divorce. We sign the last papers. The judge stamps them, and we're legally done. I get the majority of the estate from my father. She's left with scraps. The kids remain caught in the arrangement, but that, too, is a lifeless routine. Pick them up, drop them off, minimal conversation. The final blow comes in the form of an eviction notice from the bank. The house was partially under my father's trust. She can't afford the mortgage or the rent. She tries to negotiate, calls me in desperation. I block her number. I hear later she moves in with a relative, tries to find part-time design work to make ends meet. Some nights, I sit in my condo, thinking of how thoroughly I've dismantled her world. A flicker of satisfaction mingles with a hollow ache. But the ache fades. Satisfaction is all that's left. Then, one afternoon, I'm scheduled to pick up the kids. Her sister's home is modest, small. Alice comes out to the car with them, forces a smile for the kids' sake. She glances at me through the window. I see she wants to talk, but I don't lower the window. I wave the kids inside. They climb in, chatting about school. As we pull away, I glimpse her in the rearview mirror. She lifts a hand, a half wave. I keep driving, watching her recede behind us. The kids ask if we can get ice cream. I nod. Days stretch into weeks, weeks into months. The settlement is done, the paternity fiasco resolved as best it can be in legal terms. My father's estate invests in various ventures, building more wealth that I barely touch. My day-to-day life is mechanical. I go to work, handle deals, come home. The kids visit. I no longer see her face unless I have to. When we do cross paths, she's polite, quiet, older. The lines on her face deepen. She's not wearing her ring anymore. I guess she finally accepted the finality. I look at her and feel nothing. Then, one evening, I realize I'm sleeping through the night. No nightmares, no visions of them together, no regrets about what I did. It's just gone. The hate, the rage, all of it replaced by a blank calm. I think about who I am now. A father, yes, but only to a daughter that's truly mine, and a boy who might soon start calling another man dad. A husband, no, a son. That ended the day I buried my father. Maybe I'm just a man drifting through the aftermath. At the condo, I keep the lights low. Sometimes I catch my reflection in the window, see the shape of a man who used to care. I remember my father's challenge. Find the truth about the children. Well, I found it, and everything else collapsed. That's my legacy. Late at night, I sit on the couch, sipping coffee. My phone is silent, my mind is quiet. I recall how I once imagined growing old with Alice, pictured us traveling in an RV, seeing national parks when the kids were grown. A cliché, maybe, but it felt real. Now that vision is as dead as my father. I think about Michael. Where is he now? Probably with her in some new arrangement, or maybe they imploded. I don't care. The old me would have demanded answers, would have confronted him physically, demanded satisfaction. The new me doesn't bother. I burned that emotion out of my system. Eventually, I stand, stretch, and go to bed. In the darkness, I stare at the ceiling. There's no mirror here, no reflection. Just the quiet hum of the air conditioner. I close my eyes. Sleep comes easily. In the morning, I wake with a sense of finality. For the first time, I don't feel that knot in my chest, that tension in my shoulders. I shower, dress, go to the kitchen, make eggs and toast. The smell of coffee is comforting. I see a photograph of my daughter on the fridge door, taped in place. She's grinning, missing a front tooth. Next to her stands my son, 8 in the photo, maybe. He's smiling too, hugging her close. My father tried to teach me that illusions must be shattered for the sake of order. Perhaps he was right. Once illusions are gone, there's only truth. And that truth is harsh. A wife who cheated, a child who isn't mine, an inheritance that is. I should feel empty, but I just feel calm. That afternoon, I finalize a few details with the attorney. Then I drive to a small park on the outskirts of town. I can't say why. Maybe I just need open space. I sit on a bench, watch ducks milling around a pond. The sky is blue, sun warm on my face. For a moment, I let the memory of her whisper drift through my mind. Don't, please, don't. I feel no surge of rage, no sadness, just a quiet acceptance. I leave the park after a while. In the car, I glance at my phone, half expecting to see a missed call from her. There's nothing. And I realize that's fine. I don't need her calls, don't need her presence or her pleas. Tonight, I'll go home, maybe cook something simple, maybe watch TV. Tomorrow, I'll see my daughter, take her for ice cream. If my son tags along, I won't push him away. I won't say no, but I won't fight to keep him, either. We're drifting, each of us in our own orbit, severed from the illusions of a perfect family. Driving back, I pass by the old street where our house stands, where she once moaned another man's name. I slow the car, glance at that house from a distance. The windows are dark. Maybe it's empty or sold. I feel nothing for it now, just a faint recollection of the life we built and then smashed. I step on the gas, continuing forward. In the rearview mirror, I see that silhouette vanish behind me. I don't turn around. I don't even consider it. At home, I turn on the lamp in the living room. There's a comfortable silence. No tears, no whispered excuses. Just the hum of the fridge in the kitchen. I sit on the couch, exhale slowly. A single sentence floats through my mind. I sleep peacefully now. I don't wonder whose children they are. I don't remember her voice. I don't look back. Not in my thoughts. Not in my heart. And that is enough.